Okay, I am recording. Hey guys, this is Anthony, or Xmas here, and I thought I'd do a little fun video. This is going to be a little bit of rambling, not really much scripted. I have my buddy Austin here with me.
Hello.
Speak a little louder than that, come on.
Hello.
Man. There we go, that's better.
Buenas noches.
You will not speak Spanish in my
That's it.
YouTube video.
That's all I know.
That's crazy, bro. Anyway, so he and I were talking, and we're huge Persona fans, and we thought it would be really cool if we would debate on which we think is the best game in the series.
Let's not trigger people. We're talking about 3 through 5.
Yeah, we can't play 1, 2...
I want to go back and play those, honestly, but yeah, mainly we're discussing 3 Fez, 4 Golden, and 5 Royal. I'll have to defer to Xmas here, because I'm a scrub who hasn't played Royal yet. Anything having to do with Kasumi, anything having to do with Counselor Guy, I'll have to take your word for it.
You killed that man, Counselor Guy? What's his name again? It's Maruki.
There you, that's the bitch.
Oh my god. Bro! That's actually just wild. Oh my god.
That one.
You know, he has a he doesn't have a family, but I was gonna make that joke, but I couldn't. I failed miserably.
He had to give it up because of the metaverse, and all very sad.
Yeah, absolutely. So the things we were just gonna look at, and you may have seen like what I thought for a couple of these categories are, but obviously we're gonna talk about it. That wasn't definite, just personal opinion. Character, story, gameplay, music, aesthetic, accessibility / difficulty, character dynamic, themed. Oh, I should put themes. Theme / symbolism, social link / confidants, and then just some side content that you can do in the game. Like, for example, for people who haven't played Royal, there are those extra fights that you can do in the Velvet Room.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, and most of those are actually behind a paywall. They're DLC.
Yes, that might go into the rule too.
Yeah, that was just bad. Like I bought that DLC, but I always think like, you know, man, they could have just made that free. There was no reason for them to make that DLC, bro.
Which is that I personally play the card game. That looks like
Oh yeah, the card game. Yeah, like Thieves' Den is also considered side content.
Mm-hmm.
In P3, I guess you would consider it the Elizabeth quests, and then in P4, you could talk about the side quests in the game, because there's like 100 of those.
Oh yeah. Ugh. Might have to rank those lower.
Yeah, I mean, there a lot of them are fetch quests, but you know, there's still things that you can do in the game, so you can't like knock it, right?
That's true. That's true.
But and you might get caught off guard who I think has the best side content, but you'll see. So right off the bat, when it comes here, we should do characters last, actually, because I feel like
so characters and character dynamic last.
yeah, because I feel like that is that's gonna come off as more subjective for some people, but I personally still think we can rank it. So let's start with story. So what do you have to say so far for between? Oh yeah, and just to make sure, just like you said earlier, we're gonna be talking about P3 Fest, P4 Golden, and P5 Royal. Specifically, why we chose those games. Portable, I think, takes some of the magic away in terms of how you get to explore the world of Tatsumi Port Island. It replaces the overworld with a visual novel aesthetic, and I think that personally takes away from some of the experience. It does fix the combat, yes, but I feel like butchering half of the life sim just so that you could have turn-based combat is kind of a downside. And also, I think it makes the game too easy. I don't know if you know this, but the game was programmed to not have controllable party members. So a lot of the AI's decision-making is with that in mind. So, but that's just my opinion. What do you think?
Gotcha.
Do you think we chose the right game?
I'm definitely torn. I mean, obviously with vanilla Persona 4 versus Golden is the superior
Absolutely.
gameplay experience. Even though I got it on the PS2, enjoyed it, loved it. But then when Golden came out, I definitely bought a Vita TV because I knew how much better the gameplay was. And then with Royal, everything's better. They really did fix a lot of gameplay things, add some story things in there too. Fez, and then with Persona 3 Vanilla, and then Persona 3 Fez, that's easy. But then with Portable, that's where it's tough for me, because I like Minako. I like the concept of that. I like what they added with her. I like the fact that she got social links with her party members. All of them. That was really cool. But, and I had a PSP, so then I definitely ordered that game, and then never finished it, because...
You never finished Portable?
Yeah, because engaging with it, like you said, it's a different experience, it's a different gameplay experience than playing it on the PS3, when I downloaded Fez on there, so, yeah, I'll have to go with Fez, because I finished that, versus P3P. But if someone wanted to argue that P3P is superior, I'd gladly listen to that opinion.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
I'd gladly hear out that opinion.
I agree. It's not that I don't think it's the best. It's not that I think that it's objectively incorrect to play Fest over Portable. It's preferences, personally. And you're going to notice that there's a lot of subjectivity in this video, but...
Which is fine, because it's yours.
Yeah, it's fine. Yeah, I get that. It's my world. it's my shadow world, you know?
Yikes.
Yeah, that's pretty cringe, but that's okay. So, but that's why we chose Fez. And like my buddy said, Golden and Royal are not even debatable. I know there actually are some people that think that 4 is better strictly because they don't like what Marie brings to the story. And we'll talk about that.
We will talk about
Oh, we will talk about that. Don't worry, we'll get to Marie. All right. So story. So before we come to a verdict, and we might even have some disagreements. Like I said, this isn't scripted. When you think of a good story in a Persona game, what do you think, buddy?
I think of... the story having a clear message. I think of the characters being utilized to the fullest, I'll say. To their fullest potential. I'd say, well, this might get more into gameplay, but I think having who the characters are incorporated into the gameplay too. No, this is kind of leaking into other categories, into character dynamics. Okay. With the story, but then that's into themes and shit. I'm bad at those.
It's okay, bro. It's okay.
You go first. I'll defer.
Okay. So like it is very easy to link story into gameplay, aesthetic, themes and symbolism.
Yeah.
It's easy to link those things. But one thing I can vouch for in terms of what I think makes a good story, besides all those small subcategories, is the ability to convey what the writer wants to tell. So like I'm just gonna spoil it right now, and I'm pretty sure my buddy agreed with me. Golden is not winning this category, and I think that's because when you compare the behemoths of Persona 3 Fest and Persona 5 Royal to Golden, it's very clear that one story is about enforcing friendship and truths, while the other is trying to not only tell a message, but show how those characters go through it day in and day out. And I feel that Golden does it very simply, and simple stories aren't bad per se, but they're less engaging. Wouldn't you agree?
I don't want to say the Golden took the easy way out with anything.
No!
But I definitely think that... This goes into aesthetics. I think that 3 Fez and 5 Royal found a way to get the narrative to feel strong. It permeated everything. It permeated the entire experience. No matter what part of the game you were interacting with.
Right.
It never felt like there was a moment where you lost sight of what the game was about, even when it wasn't really showing its hand yet.
Yeah, of course. I agree.
So, but between those, this is why I kind of just want to hash it out. It's hard for me to say that there's a better story than Fez.
Keep going.
I don't know what it is. And again, I haven't played Royal yet. But it generally goes through the same arcs of Persona 5. With Fez, it really is such a sad story, but there's something so triumphant about it, even with how melancholy it is.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that conveys the message truly. And I mean, I'm biased because I actually did hear the account of what the writer went through.
Right?
In his real-life experiences, which led up to him writing the story for that game. And I don't know what his real-life experiences were, or what those did to really...
facilitate that?
Well, to really reinforce.
Oh,
the story,
reinforce. Oh,
to
okay.
reinforce the stories for 4 and 5. I don't know if there's anything like that for 4 and 5.
I don't know.
So for 3, I'm a bit biased because it just feels like that was the most coherent idea throughout.
It was, and you could also make the argument that, in my opinion, Royal's best narrative progression was done by a completely different director. Remember, it's a new team for the Royal story. The third semester was done by someone completely different, and it shows the difference between their styles of not only writing but ways of conveying a story were very much clear when I played Royal. So, for me, it's a toss-up because I really do love Royal, but I also think that 3 Fest is more consistent across the board. And what I mean by that is this. So, when you talk about P5's story, everybody always remembers not only the highs, but the lows. P3's low does start in the beginning while it's a little slow. It gradually gets better, and then eventually it hits a peak at the end of the game. What happens with Royal, it does this. It starts off amazing, and then right after Futaba, it takes a little dip. Because not everyone likes Chapter 5. In fact, I can't even think of someone who likes what happens in Chapter 5.
Yikes.
I can't. That genuinely brings down the game for some people, and it's just like a minor hiccup for me personally. I do think it should get recognized that it is definitely the lowest part of the story, and the fact that it takes a dip at all makes it slightly more inconsistent. And then it goes back up, back in chapters 6 and 7, and then I think it skyrockets and goes above 3's peak in narrative progression. I just think that if you wanted a more consistent narrative, you should probably pick B3 Fest.
And to be fair to Golden, I feel like that has a pretty consistent progression too. I think that's why it's so well liked.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's not like a mountain, it's more like a hill.
I like that, because in terms of when they introduce plot lines and stuff like that, and new characters, and new revelations in the mystery, that never felt like the sort of situation where they just pulled something out of their asses, or it's like, oh, we have no idea what we're gonna do with this arc.
No, yeah, right.
We're just gonna throw Rise in there. Like there was a purpose. It felt like there was a purpose and there was an intent behind that.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree.
And then P3, I don't know, that's kind of like, I think the start of Persona 4 was so slow for me.
Oh gosh, yes.
But then it kind of just like ramps up and is pretty consistent throughout, whereas with 3, I think it was more consistent, but it felt like a slow build the entire time until it reaches its kind of narrative fever pitch, I guess you could say.
That's a good word for it. I like that. I actually like that term.
Where all of it kind of just comes to a head, where all of the plot lines have been building up, all collides in, I guess that would be, what, November? October, November, yeah, that's when shit hits the fan.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and everything's hitting the fan. Shinji's dead. They figure out they've been lied to. Ryoji comes to them with the ultimatum. Like, all of that falls out really well.
Oh yeah, and don't worry about spoilers. I'm gonna put spoilers in the YouTube headline
Awesome.
so they know, so we don't have to worry about spoilers.
Awesome. Yeah, I feel like all those things catered very well to it, and I think the only thing that would make Fez better than Golden in that regard for me is that Fez, to me, told a story that I hadn't heard before.
Yeah, no, and Golden has a lot of references to things that people like to point out. Like, this game gets compared to Scooby-Doo way too much.
Which is easy to do.
Yeah.
And that's not even to say that it's, like, bad. Like, that's a nice kind of accessible trope.
It is, and that's what I think they wanted to do with Golden. Or rather, not even just Golden, 4 in general. They wanted an accessible JRPG that everybody could enjoy. Because you look at Persona 3, and that game isn't for everybody. The whole message of the game is that you can't escape death, right?
Yeah.
You can't... I don't know.
And we'll get into that with the...
And with accessibility,
shit, but,
yeah.
But in terms of narrative, I would be okay with giving it to Faust.
I think so. It just feels. I think so. It
Yeah.
feels right to me.
Okay, yeah. Like I said, if I were to give a mention just for the third semester alone, it would be Royal. Because I really do think it does deserve its praise, but I will admit that the third semester is the best part of the game, and you know, it's hard to like say that it makes the story for the rest of the game better. Well, while it does, Maruki is amazing, and Kasumi is amazing, and what they did to Akechi by making him a full fleshed out character was also amazing. It's peaks versus consistency, and the fact that Royal takes a dip with Chapter 5 is unfortunate. P3 starts out a little slower, but it at least consistently goes up. So I can understand the argument. I like Royal's third semester better than anything in other Persona games, but that doesn't mean that the rest of the game doesn't need to catch up the slack. So, all right, moving on to gameplay. I don't think there's really that much to talk about. Like, here's the thing about it. Some people, I was watching Fither's video, right? And he made a good point that some people actually like the idea of the loaded dice gameplay that was in Persona 3 of not being able to control their party members. They're sick, like mentally ill, but I can at least... I'm kidding. I don't think that's fair or right, but I don't see it personally, but I do know those people exist. I've had conversation. We've had coworkers at Walmart that straight up have told me, back when I was a Walmart associate, you know, Walmart boys.
Fun time.
Yeah, fun times. That they actually preferred having to calculate RNG between party members instead of just having full control over them. Because it's like a different way to play Persona. And you can still do that today. You can turn off your direct control for your party members. In fact, even in 4, they start off as AI.
Yeah.
You're the one that has to tell them, no, I don't want this. Like, this is stupid. And
Right.
you should. But, with that being said, I still don't think it makes up for the best gameplay, especially with how strict and unforgiving the fusion system is.
Yeah.
How dumb some of the mechanics are in terms of this life sim. Like, getting sick is garbage, and I really don't understand why they put that into the game.
Yeah, it definitely, all those things fit in well with the motifs and the general vibe of the game. So for me, it never felt like something that made me want to rage quit or something that made me want to put down the game. It unfortunately was just something that you consistently had to account for.
Right,
But
absolutely.
then it wasn't until you played 4 and 5 where we're like, oh, life could be so much easier. Why wouldn't we do this the
Dude,
entire time?
and I don't know. I to this day still don't know.
Yeah, thankfully none of those things ever detracted from the P3 experience per se.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Okay.
It's just, why can't you block? Why can't I block
Fuck.
in a Persona game? If someone literally just power charges or mind charges, you have to respect it, and it's just not fun. So, so it then becomes between Royal and Golden, and I unfortunately think it is no contest. I think it goes to Royal, personally.
That's the thing. That's one of the things about the series that consistently ramps up in a very positive way. It's consistently updating on itself, giving you the best gameplay experience. So from P3 Vanilla to P5 Royal, there's no comparison. Like,
There isn't, no.
like it really does feel good to play as your characters at any given point in 5 Royal. In fact, you can swap party members out too.
Oh my god, I didn't even think about that, yeah.
Like, obviously you need a social link for that, but the fact that they even have that option, and then Royal improving on 5 even and giving you, it gives you unlimited ammo, right?
Unlimited ammo for gun. Well, not unlimited ammo, unlimited refreshes of ammo. So if you
Gotcha.
burn your load in a battle, your next fight, your ammo is already refreshed.
Gotcha.
So it makes guns like a viable option, and then that makes EY's Confidant even more enticing, and it
Yeah.
also allows you to experiment. Like, these guys were weak to gun. I don't have to risk losing my bullets, so let's pop a few.
Exactly.
And it works. So, not even to mention what they did to Baton Pass.
Right.
What they did to Morgana telling you to go to bed. If this was Royal, then I mean, if this was vanilla, some people would make the argument that 4 does a better job with the life send because of Morgana and telling you to go to bed. But Royal fixes that.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna give it to Royal, and then Golden obviously is probably our second favorite.
Yeah.
There's just so many things in 3 that I just don't think make for an optimal gameplay experience. But that's just our opinion.
Gotta give credit to Fez for at least letting him go out at night freely. And I feel like money was way more accessible in that game.
Oh gosh, yeah, money was way off kilter. I'm playing through Golden right now, and I'm so freaking poor, dude. It's not even funny.
You definitely feel like a high schooler in that regard.
Yeah.
Which is hysterical because that's the job where you can actually, or that's the game where you can actually get a job.
Yeah, it is.
Persona 3, everyone's just magically rich.
Yeah.
That's what being friends with Mitsuru will do for you.
Yeah, and I've played Golden. I've played Persona 4 like 6 times. 3 vanilla, 3 golden, and it's just like, gosh, man, it's so wild.
That part is rough.
But moving on. So this is actually probably going to be the hardest one to talk about because there is so much bias when it comes to music. Everybody has different like tastes. Like my buddy Austin here, he loves K-pop,
I do.
and that's awesome. And I like, I mean, there isn't really a music genre I don't like. Even I like K-pop, but other than country music is where I go downhill personally.
I did my toe in there, and
Yeah, but what I was trying to say is that music is very subjective, and I'm sure he also understands that. So if we end up with different answers, that's fine.
Just put a slash.
Yeah, so we'll put a slash. I'm gonna tell you right now, I can give you my least favorite of the 3 soundtracks, and I can't give you my favorite because I would have to think about it for a little bit. But after thinking about it, my least favorite of the 3, it's got to be Golden. I think Golden is probably okay. So hear me out. If this wasn't Royal, if this bit said P5, it would be Persona 5. That soundtrack is so peak heavy. It has amazing hits like Beneath the Mask, Blooming Villain, Life Will Change. Like, oh my god, those songs are so good. Rivers in the Desert. Like, gosh, man. Whims of Fate? They're so good. But here's the problem. It also has songs like the Overworld theme, Madarame's Palace, Kamoshida's Palace, Okumura's Palace. Like, just songs that are so forgettable. Like, I genuinely don't remember what they sound like sometimes. I have to force myself to be like, okay, no, this is what it sounds like. You know? And Last Surprise is my least favorite battle theme. It just straight up is. I think Reach Out, Time to Make History, and Mass Destruction are all better, in my opinion.
Fair.
I think Take Over is better than Last Surprise, but I still don't know if it hits the peaks of Reach Out, Mass D, and Time to Make History. I think those are all great battle themes, right? So that's what I mean. P5 has peaks, but it also has lows. Whereas the other 2 games, I don't think do. I can't think of one bad song in either of those games. Can you?
I mean, there might have been like some random song in 3 Fez that was like, okay, we could have done without this one.
Yeah, I mean, that's true.
Like,
But they weren't essential songs like the
Right.
Overworld theme.
right. Oh god, the overworld songs in that game.
Are insane. They are actually just not fair.
Again, vibe, just everything. It sets the tone perfectly.
And even Golden has bangers, dude. Like, Heartbreak,
Heartbreak is my vote.
Your Affection,
Yeah.
the winter one, I genuinely do not remember what it's called.
And
but-
even the evening theme.
Oh, and the evening thing's a bop. Oh yeah, absolutely. The Social Link theme, oh, so good. But the thing is, with Golden, is that all of the songs are good, but none of them blow my mind like what with Fess and now Royal songs did. Like at the beginning of the video, you heard No More What Ifs.
the Thieves Den song / the one that plays in the jazz club. Royal added a lot of really good songs, and it's really hard to compete with Royal's peaks. Like, if I were to say what my favorite Golden song was, just in general, it's probably I Face Myself.
Oh yeah.
Or I'll Face Myself.
Yeah.
Yeah. The boss theme, not the one that plays after, even though the one that plays after is really, really good.
Yeah.
So this is my take, and obviously we're going to have different opinions on this because he hasn't played Royal. I'm going to probably give it to Royal and then say 3 Fests gets the HM, so I'm going to put a slash.
I think that's fair, because every new song you've shown me from Royal has been pretty S tier.
So would you like to say Fess and then Golden? Or would you like to put Royal above Golden?
Well, that's what I'm saying. After you showed me all the hits that Royal put out, I've got to put that above Golden too.
Okay.
And then 5 after Golden, I would say.
Yeah, that's fair. Completely fair. Because, like, Royal adds beneath the mask, not beneath the mask, I'm sorry. Throw Your Mask Away.
Yeah.
I Believe. Like, come on, man. That's just unfair to even compare to any of the
Those
stuff in
songs
3.
are the reasons I can even stand Kasumi. Like.
Oh yeah, that's fair. That's honestly fair. But
because they inform her character so well.
yeah, of course. And then 3 has really good beats too, like Battle Within Everyone's Souls. The Velvet Room theme technically originated from that game. When the Moon Reaches Out, the Iwatodai Dorm, Mass Destruction, FES, Burn My Dread, like Memories of You. Like, oh my gosh, like
That ending theme
it's so good. It's so good.
Yeah, that's still my favorite ending theme, honestly. But honestly, for this, I'll say Royal, and then
Here, like, let me play, like, just all of the games in the background. It's just, the Persona soundtrack is really good, and if you were to walk up to me and tell me any of these games were your favorite, I'd be like, yeah, dude, the songs are great.
absolutely.
I wouldn't even come to think about disagreeing with your opinion. Because Shoji Meguro is a legend, and he made beautiful music. So, if your favorite soundtrack is Golden, heck yeah, dude, the game's great. It was hard enough just picking between the 3 of these games. But if you were to tell me 5 is your favorite soundtrack, that's when I would be like, well,
Maybe I need to show you some old hits.
yeah, seriously. But if you were to say Royal, power to you.
Oh, absolutely.
Alright, so okay, that wasn't as hard as I thought it would be. Aesthetic, okay, this one will be pretty tough too. So, the thing with aesthetic is that you need to look at the 3 of them, and they all give out a very different appearance and vibe and a different color. 3 is a little bit gloomy and uses a lot of...
A little bit.
Alright, it's very gloomy, sorry. And it uses a lot of blue, specifically slightly on the darker side blue.
Yeah.
In a lot of its menus, its like setting, it's just a lot of dark blue.
Midnight blue.
Tartarus is blue, the school is blue at
That
night.
sickly green.
Yeah.
With Tartarus. And then the crimson.
Oh,
red.
is it sickly green? I thought it was blue, like the big building.
Sometimes it shows up like a pale aqua.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, sometimes it's a teal.
Oh, know your colors, know your colors. You're right. And then and all of the important scenes in 3 happen at night, which is again more dark.
That's a good point, except for literally the last one.
Yeah.
Wow.
All the important scenes in 3 happen at night. Because the dark hour. Like, come on, man. It's called the dark hour.
The best things happen in the dark.
Whereas Persona 4 is very bright, bubbly, cheerful. Like, it might as well be 3's opposite, to be quite honest with you. If Persona 4 put more emphasis on living your life to the fullest, which it still even does to some degree, it would be 3's opposite. And some people vibe with that more, myself included. I'm actually someone who thinks 4 Golden's aesthetic is more fun than 3's, but that's just because of, again, that's personal bias.
It feels like the sugar that helps the medicine go down,
Yeah.
as Mary Poppins would say. Like, like in the theme songs for every game, like they never shy away from the fact they're still hanging from telephone poles.
Yeah, that's true.
But they use the aesthetic to their advantage to be like, but guys, it'll be okay. Like, yes, this exists, but it will be okay.
It will be fine. It'll be fine. And then 3, you're just like, will it be okay though? Will it?
Was anything ever okay?
Yeah. Sometimes, and sometimes you really just don't know.
Mm-hmm.
You never know.
And then for Royal, the bright, unapologetic red
is everywhere, dude.
with black and the white. What's that called? Carmine? The red, white, black color.
Oh yeah. That's in
color
like
scheme.
all the the menus and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's such a powerful aesthetic. Like, the blues and the yellows of 3 and 4 respectively. Oh, I love this song.
Isn't sick.
They really help to establish and embolden the scene with the setting so well. But the red, black, and white, like with all the promotional art, with
They marketed that game very well.
even just the in-game art and how it. You can't not talk about the fact that this game was made for a PS3/PS4.
Yeah, right?
So they really took advantage of the graphics and the art style in this one. In terms of actually, yeah. So I feel like in terms of like color and things like that, Royal hands down. What about setting though?
Okay, so yeah, that's like a different like ball game. Because if I were to pick my favorite world, it would be Tatsumi Port Island, 100%. Like, Tokyo is dope and all, but outside of Shibuya, where the market is, all of those like extra places are cool, but they have nothing to do with the game's story. They're all just life sim places for you to go to.
That is a really fair judgment, actually.
Like,
they're date places.
Yeah,
Like,
they're date places. 90% of the locations in Royal are to help you make better contacts of a confidant, which is fine, but has nothing to do with the story. Nothing. It's just to add more spice to the characters and the conversations you're having, which again isn't a bad thing. That's what it was designed to do. But half the game happens in the metaverse, and that's not even a.
Yeah, so in a sense, the setting for that game was a bit too big, really, to have a character of its own.
Right.
Whereas, ooh, between Tatsumi Port Island and Inaba definitely feels like a character.
It does.
I would say.
It does.
I definitely feel a lot more closely related to the people. I mean, you can really go like 5 places in Inaba.
And then the new Okinawa City, or Okinawa City.
That's right. Yeah. So it's a very tight. It's a very not backwards. I don't want to say that, but a very tight knit, kind of rural-ish setting where even if the NPCs don't have names, like you feel pretty familiar with them after a while.
Yeah, you get used to like seeing them, like the woman that's outside your that Uncle Dojima's house.
Right, selling the tomatoes.
Yeah. And then there's the cop that's near the bus station.
Yeah, like
The gas station attendant.
yeah, things like that. I think, but with Fez, what I liked about that was since the shadows were always showing up in very specific places,
Yeah.
they found a way to make just about every inch of Tatsumi Port Island relevant at a certain point.
Yeah, no, you're right.
So like with the Love Hotel, even if you don't know anyone who went there, like that's relevant because it represents something about certain types of people in Tatsumi Port Island. Or we finally fight the shadow underneath the mall, which is a setting that we've been going to every day. Obviously the school itself. I think the school definitely has the most. It's the most sentient, I guess.
Yeah, you're right.
Of all the schools you go to.
It's also the one that I enjoy the most. Like, I think Gekkoukan is my favorite school.
Yeah. I remember fondly of getting lost there my first day, but that didn't seem like a thing where the game wasn't knowing where to go. It felt like I was a new student finding my way around.
Yeah. Like, Shujin isn't really a big part of Persona 5. It's a big part of the first chapter, and that's kind of it.
Yeah.
You use it sometimes as a hub to like find certain students in some of the earlier chapters of the game, but as soon as you get to chapter 4, the school might as well not even exist.
Yeah.
In terms of like how the plot progresses, it's used for like the interrogation of the students, and again, it's your school, so you obviously go there to learn, but it's not really important after chapter 6.
Unfortunately, no.
Because you have to hide from the school, and then in chapter,
Right.
and then and then the third semester. Oh gosh, that's not even school's not even relevant. So overall, oh, that sounds a little so good. Yeah, right. It's just so easy for a Persona song to come on and start singing. In terms of aesthetic, I think it's really hard because you have to debate between like menus and color and setting and school and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
So what I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna add another category, and I'm gonna label it as setting.
Good
because
idea.
That's
Yeah.
just
We just made our own.
unfortunately.
We just made our own category.
Yeah, yeah, it would change in the rules. That's how unscripted this is. So for aesthetic, I'm actually going to give it to Royal, and then for an HM, I'm going to put Golden. Do you agree?
I'll have to agree to disagree.
Okay.
On that one.
So you're gonna do Royal and then Fess, or Fess then Royal.
Royal Fez.
Royal Fess. Okay. Now for setting, I'm going to put Fess and then HM to Royal. What about you?
For setting, I'd have to give the honorable mention to Golden.
Okay.
I really appreciated the setting in that sense, and again, going around the school, engaging with club members, things like that. The fact that literally the people who show up on the Midnight Channel are determined by who the people at Inaba want to see on the Midnight Channel.
Mm-hmm.
I think that kind of helps give the setting its own character as well after a while. It's a slow build-up, but even that, I feel like they planted those seeds early on.
Okay.
Where you're getting that sense there that the place really matters.
Okay. I can respect that. All right. So next is accessibility / difficulty. Okay. So here's the thing. I'm gonna be blunt. Persona 3 Fez is not accessible. It is a hard game if you decide to not play on easy mode. It's a very hard game. It's an unforgiving game too. There's a lot of cheese in that game.
Too many things are out of your control at higher difficulty.
You're essentially creating loaded dice, walking into a battle, trying to plan out things in your head and see what happens. So
And then watching Junpei take a slash at Luna's gown.
like watching your party member attack an enemy you know resists their element is the most frustrating thing. It turns people. There's a reason this series no longer makes party members set to AI by default. You know. So because of that, I am eliminating Fez from being from the accessible / difficult. I think it's the hardest Persona game. So if you wanted to, if this category had to deal with the best challenge, I think Fez presents the highest challenge of the entire game.
Right, whether that was intended or not.
Or not, yes.
And actually, going back to gameplay for a bit, just in terms of hitting an enemy's weakness when you know it's not going to work. I was thinking about that before, just with how many different attack affinities there were.
Yes, so physical attacks were split into three
Categories. And then they merged those into one in Persona 4 Gold, and then in 3 they split those into physical and gun.
You mean 5?
Oh, did I say?
Yeah, you said 3 a second time. So in the 5.
LOL.
Yeah, lol.
Yeah, in 5 Royal, they split those into physical and gun. And I definitely think that was the smartest thing to do.
It was. I agree.
I missed the distinction between physical attacks in 4, but looking back at 3, as fun as it was to be like, ooh, who's gonna use a bow? Ooh, who's gonna use a sword? Ooh, like, that's fun or whatever, but then if you're fighting against an enemy that resists slashing and fire, then like slashing, strike, and fire, then Junpei's toast. Like you can.
Yeah, he just can't.
He literally has nothing to do, but then heal and support. Which heavy quotations on heal and support.
Yeah, right.
Because that's never actually going to be a consistent thing either.
No, and I watched a Persona 3 analysis video. Did you know in that game that the Ma spells are designed to be less accurate?
I think I did see that, and in hindsight, it makes sense.
Well, yeah, you would think about like, okay, this spell hits every target on the board. It obviously costs SP, but you would think there should be like another downside to it, right? But here's the problem: Persona 3 FES's knockdown system is different than every other Persona game.
Yeah.
In order to get a knockdown, in order to get a one more in that game, you have to knock down every single enemy if you decide to use a Ma spell. If you use a singular spell, then you'll get the one more.
You can go one by one.
But if one misses, resists the element, you don't get the one more, and it goes to the next turn. And I think that's terrible design. Terrible design.
I have to agree. So yeah, Fed be on the bottom.
Yeah. Now, this is actually going to, you might be surprised, I think Royal is an easy as hell game. I think this game is I played on hard mode, and I only had a challenge for 3 fights. The Akechi fight, the Shido fight, and the final boss. That's it. Those are the only 3 fights where I was like, oh no, and the Akumura fight, but that was difficult for different reasons. They didn't test that fight. Fun fact, for Royal's Akumura fight, if you played on hard and or medium, the fight is hard because the robots are freaking sponges on those difficulties. They didn't test that boss fight on those difficulties. You can look it up in an interview. They only tested safety, and merciless because merciless does triple damage for exposing weaknesses. So I guess they thought the fight was fine, when in reality that fight was not fine. It was very hard. Yeah. But the enemies, I was never scared. I never died in Royal to a enemy. No, heck, I don't think I died in Royal.
I'm trying to think if I died once in 5.
I didn't die in Royal.
I might have died once in 5.
In 5, I died to the Despair Cheese back when that was a thing.
Yeah.
But they took that stuff out.
Oh, you can't die from despair anymore.
Nope, you can't.
Rip.
And they added, in Ryuji's Confidant, rank 5, if you run over a green enemy, first off, it tells you that it's green now, and second, it gives you the EXP and money, and it just lets you go right off. So they made it so easy to farm in that game, meaning it's easy to become over-leveled, and if you get over-leveled in Royal, you don't have to fight encounters. In the 7th Palace, I only fought maybe like 7 times. I just ran everything else over. It was that bad. That's how over-level I got from farming mementos and collecting stamps and whatnot. And yeah, Jose makes that game a cakewalk because it allows you to increase your EXP and money that you get in it. Yeah, no, it's not even a question. So if I were to say, I think Golden is the best in terms of accessibility and difficulty for providing a good JRPG experience. Royal is so easy.
And it just became even more accessible. Because now it's on PC.
Yeah, right? Oh, yeah, I guess we should talk about where the games are available. So on Persona 3 FES, you can play it on PS3 and PS2. For Golden, you can play on Vita TV and PC, which is like the biggest dub Atlas has ever given.
Yeah, it's a PS2, PS3, Vita TV, / Vita.
Oh no, that's just 4. I'm talking about Golden specifically.
Oh, you're right, that wasn't... Excuse me.
Yeah, before
you're right,
PC,
you're right.
Golden was not accessible. It was on
You're
2
right,
consoles, the
you're right.
Vita and the Vita TV. Now that it's on PC, it is by far the most accessible because everybody has a computer and everybody can run a PS2 game on their computer in 2020. And if you can't, then I really don't know what to tell you. And Royal is only available on PS4.
Which is why I don't have it.
Don't worry, buddy. Don't worry, we'll get you there. We'll get you there. So yeah, in terms of accessibility / difficulty, I think Golden is the perfect balance, and I think it's the most accessible game because of in terms of gameplay and how to get the game. And I think Royal is also pretty accessible to new players. It teaches the game really well, but Royal is very easy, and I get that that's a very big turnoff for people. You know?
It doesn't bother me, but like I get that
Yeah.
bothers people.
Yeah, like I get like people want a challenge when they play
Yeah.
JRPGs.
Instead of just like sleeping through it.
So, the next category is actually going to be pretty easy, in my opinion.
This is fun.
So, I don't know if you know this, but Golden doesn't really have much to talk about in terms of themes and symbolism. Like, when you think of Persona 4 Golden, what do you think the overall message is?
Face out,
All about, I reach out to the truth. Yeah.
Yeah, you know, coming to terms with, I think they, through the utilization of their characters, and then using certain antagonists as foils, they definitely got the point across very strongly.
They did. They did.
I think in that game, and I think this might flavor my judgment of 5 as well. I think there are things within social links, as well as things in terms of their relationships with each other, that kind of undermine the themes at times. In terms of like accepting yourself for who you are, blah blah blah, and feeling like you don't have to compromise who you are. But then in the same breath say, oh, Naoto, I can only romance you if I say that you look better as a girl. Like, things like that sometimes undermine the theme, but I still think it was a very strong, and for the most part, a consistent one, in terms of not settling for easy, for comfortable lies.
Yeah.
It's not the most mature thing, quote unquote. I don't think it's the most like intellectual thing you can come up with, but I think it was still a very powerful one. So to see all the characters come to their individual breakthroughs, that never gets old, no matter how many times I play the game.
No, absolutely. Every time I watch the scene where Yosuke faces himself and he says, "You're not me," even after you win, and Teddy just says, "That thing came from you, Yosuke." Like, that's a huge slap to the face that, like that just gets me excited every single time, you know?
Yeah.
So, while I do agree that the message is not only a good one, it's very blunt and powerful and strong, it's not deep. It's very much surface level message that a JRPG can convey.
Though honestly, talking about the J part of that, maybe as Americans, it seems a bit more, well, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It seems a bit more, yeah, well, of course you should be yourself. Whereas
In Japan, it's a lot different.
in Japanese culture, there isn't a lot of, I don't think culturally there's as much incentive to really be yourself.
No, yeah.
At the end of the day.
They're very much a society that is structured.
Or really, I think more specifically, there's way more of an emphasis on being your best self.
Yes.
So if there are things about you that exist that are in direct conflict with that image, then those need to be expressed. Which goes into the Jungian psychology of the Persona series perfectly, where then a shadow develops. So seeing this game where we're actually addressing those shadows,
Right.
then the conflicts of these for the characters were perfect, where they had them actually have to interrogate them physically. Which is what makes me appreciate someone like Yukiko, for example, where her struggle seems kind of basic, but just the image of being an upright girl who's going to take over her family business, and the fact that there's someone inside of her being like, but who says they actually want this? Just the existence of that kind of sentiment contradicts, I think, what a lot of people in Japan are raised to believe. Where it's like, well, why would you even think to go against this thing that is established, this thing that is good, this thing that has provided for you your entire life? Who do you think you are going against that? So that's societal pressure to be like, yeah, I'll go with it.
But Americans will see that and they'll go, well, just do what you want in life.
Well, doesn't her shadow manifest as a princess in a Western-style dress?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Like, as opposed to her, so her having to fight against that, her wearing her traditional kimono. I thought that was such good imagery. So I definitely think, yeah, no, there's more. That really, I can't say like, oh, it's at the bottom because it's bad.
It's not bad.
It might,
Absolutely not.
honestly, now talking through it,
There's no way. Dog, do you know it's...
I think I might have to put it in second until we talk through Royal. Maybe.
Okay, so let me talk... Okay, I'm gonna straight up just... not even, like, lowballing it. I mean, I guess not even highballing it. I think Fest has the best themes and symbols of the entire series. It's just not even fair to compare Fest to the other games in the series in terms of themes and symbolism. Like, the references to death, societal falling... how each person gets their persona, like all of those things are so deep and powerful. Like how Junpei, like every single person in that game or party member has like a different family upbringing that forces them to act certain ways. Junpei portraying himself to be like a hero is what gets him through a day in and day out. Yukari's drive with her dad and Mitsuru's drive to lead the Kichikurijo group and be successful. You know, Akihiko's strife with Shinji, and like, oh my gosh, there are just so many deep, like, complexities behind the themes and the symbolism of that game. Like, the Arcana are the most fleshed out in this game, and it's the oldest of the three.
They were actually used to convey the beats of the narrative, as well as. And literally, Arcanas 0 to 13 were used to characterize the most relevant characters in the story.
Right.
And every time each of them gets their own moment to really shine, like their own moment as characters to really breathe, I guess. And the fact that you're fighting the reverse Arcana shadows for every boss battle. So then, the traits of a reversed Arcana then inform the struggle going on within the narrative at the current time.
Yep.
So yeah, that kind of synergy between narrative and then theme and everything, and then kind of say aesthetic too, in terms of Jungian psychology and tarot cards as an aesthetic.
Mm-hmm.
All of those were so tightly knit together.
They were.
In 3.
They were. I just can't think of any reason why you would think that Golden or Royal even has better themes and symbolism than a game that's literally about the tarot cards. Like Royal uses them as like a, oh, well, we've been using them this long, might as well keep doing it, like kind of thing. The Arcana are not very talked about much.
They're definitely not as relevant.
There's a word for it. It's more like not a caveat. What's the word I'm looking for?
Like a device, or
Not a device, like a necessity. Not necessity. There's a word that I'm looking for that, like,
I think
obligation. It's like they were put into the game out of obligation, and not because it would have been cool to relate to the tarot. Because like when people think of like, you know, oh, I know a lot about the tarot, and they played a Persona game. Like that's not how it works. I was like that. So trust me, guys, don't be like old Anthony. But looking back on it, 3 did the best job of explaining some of the traits behind the tarot and the Arcana.
and the concept of the life's journey and things like that.
Right. Like, Persona 4 and Persona 5 put a little bit more emphasis on the answer, while Persona 3 is definitely about the journey. And that's not saying that there's no journey in P4 and P5 Royal. There is plenty of journey, but like...
Absolutely.
But it's the fact that when, like, you compare the endings of the 3 games, 2 of them are happy endings.
Ending 3
is not.
It's the perfect circle. It's the closed loop.
Yes.
Like, yeah, that definitely felt like it had the most intent in how it incorporated its symbolism, and even the personas that they use.
Oh yeah.
I feel like just making freaking Akihiko and Shinji the twins of Gemini, making them Polydeuces and Castor, was so smart, and it was great foreshadowing for anyone who knows anything about Greek mythology, or at least that much about Greek mythology. eat it. Oh no.
Yeah, I didn't catch that. So like,
where Akihiko is the popular one. He's the boxing star, and then Shinji is kind of a self-made outcast. And then that relates directly to the legend of those twins, with one of them being. Were they half brothers?
I have no idea.
I'm pretty sure that maybe they were half brothers.
Okay.
Yeah, and because I think one was like, that's what it was. I'm pretty sure Zeus was like the father of one of them. Because
Okay.
of course he was. And then so Polydeuces was the demigod, and then Castor was the human brother.
Okay, cool.
And then he died, and then it was like, oh, Zeus, have a forever. And then they both get put into the stars.
Bro!
Because, yeah, all of that. But even like Polydeuces then evolving into Caesar. Like, there's just something, like, once those things were revealed, it's like, oh, that's their name. There was this sense of catharsis in me. Again, I'm more familiar with Greek mythology than with
Right.
French mystery literature, or with Japanese mythology, so maybe it hit differently. The Izanagi
Okay.
references and
And that's why I can understand why you would think Golden is better than Royal in terms of this, but let me put this into perspective. Since you didn't get to experience the third semester, I'm gonna say this a million times, it's the best part of the game. I think the emphasis on reality and ideals are played very well in Royal. And it actually gives you a moral choice that some people to this day, even right now, are picking the other side even though they know it's wrong. So I think that message alone is powerful enough for me to make my HM Royal. If this didn't have Royal in it, it would not even be a question. Five's themes and symbolism are very...
They're on the nose and they're powerful, just like it's aesthetic.
Right.
I think it picks odd times to kind of undermine itself. Well, not okay. I use that a lot. I think they try to take beats to interrogate,
They do.
like what the team is fighting for, like what they're actually doing all this for. But then it comes off as weirdly apologetic at times, where it's like, oh, well, maybe we should have just like had our heads in the sand, like, you know, maybe Kamoshida like isn't a real.
They
don't have to
doubt
do that.
themselves a lot.
And which is real because what they're doing is crazy. But like,
But
but they pick weird, kind of inconsistent times to do that. If that had been Oriental characters, if they had designated a character to have that kind of disposition, that kind of mentality throughout the game, and then the Okumura thing happens, and then it's like, oh well, that person is kind of vindicated, but also sad because we're all involved in this now. It's like, shit, I didn't want to be right about this. Like, maybe we were doing the wrong thing. If that had been someone's job to be the cynic, to be like, guys, should we leave this to the cops? Guys, should we do it like this? Should we take it that far? Maybe we should listen to them. Oh no, Makoto found out. We gotta shut this whole thing down. Like, if that had been someone's job, and then you have Ryuji being the eternal optimist, being like, guys, we're heroes. We're basically gods. Like, that would have been a nice conflict to have, but for the most part, everyone's pretty gung-ho about it. And then the Okumura thing happens, and then everyone wants to act like, guys, we got really greedy. And I'm here as Akira being like, win? I thought I was being objective because some girl tried to kill herself.
yeah, that was like what started the whole thing.
And all the adults in this universe are trash, so we had no other option.
Yeah.
So in that sense, the themes and symbolism, I was down for themes and symbolism from the get-go with that game, but then it feels like it's trying to kind of backtrack at times and interrogate it, but again, an inconsistent way.
It's inconsistent,
So
you're right.
It didn't feel as connected to me.
So are you gonna do Fast Single?
That's the goal.
Okay. And really, I just want to go back to gameplay really quick.
Yeah.
We didn't talk about this, but this just hit me as to why. I mean, because like when most people watch this video, they should already know this because of the spoilers that I'm putting in the thumbnail. or not the thumbnail, the title.
Yeah.
We didn't talk about the dungeon design in these games.
Oh shit.
Yeah, it completely went over my head.
Oversight.
Oh yeah, exactly. It's not even a question what game has the best dungeon design. It's this one, and it's not even a question what game has the second best dungeon design. It's this one. If any of you think that Tartarus is the best way to dungeon crawl in a Persona game, I'm sorry. Your opinion is just wrong. Like, I hate Tartarus so much, dude.
How many floors?
261 of the exact gloomy, depressing Shimigami Tensei building, and oh my gosh.
Guys, one of them was Technicolor.
You know what? Here, I'm gonna make another here. I'm just gonna say gameplay, life sim / battle scene. And then I'm gonna add another topic down here. Dungeon design. Put that in caps.
Caps that.
The fact that palaces exist in Royal and that they're all unique and special, like
And have all their own gimmicks, for better or for worse. There was definitely, that had the most creativity behind it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And no, you know what? No, we didn't talk about the life sim that much. So I'm just gonna leave this as battle scene,
Yeah.
and then I'll do life sim. And what I mean by life sim is, do you agree with this? Do we need to talk about this anymore? I mean,
I could talk about themes and symbolism all day. That could be its own video.
it really could be.
And people have done it. I forget his username, but someone did a really good series of themes and like the Persona origins and stuff like that.
Oh.
I'll show you those, but
Yeah, please, that'd be great. I'd love
but
to
yeah,
watch
no,
those.
that's always fun to talk about. But so yeah, I'm good with all those.
Yeah, dungeon design, there isn't much more to say other than the fact that palaces are the best way to play the game. The dungeon design in 4, basing it off the party members, was also fine. Tartarus is my least favorite by far. In Golden and Fest, they're randomly generated, and in Royal, outside of Mementos, they're designed for you to traverse through. One more thing I wanted to talk about in themes of symbolism. During the final boss of 3, the Arcana are put into full force as part of the final boss, by which all is revealed. Oh, that line's still in my head. With Persona 4, it's the battle between Izanami and Izanagi, which again is cool.
Yeah.
And then P5, they knew the game had to end with a god, so they slapped Yaldabaoth in there. And then with Royal, they gave you a means to an end final boss, but the means to an end final boss is the character relationship between the main character and the villain of Persona 5 Royal. And that has nothing to do with themes and symbolism, unfortunately.
Well, if I played it, I will argue there is definitely some color stuff in that.
I don't think so.
With the whole Garden of Eden thing, the whole Garden of Eden aesthetic, and with Centennial, I think.
Is there something? I didn't think you could connect those two.
Don't at me for this, theology majors, but pretty sure, there's like Satan, there's like Lucifer, right? The one who rebelled against heaven. I'm pretty sure Centennial, Joker's final persona, is the name of the serpent in the Garden of Eden.
Are you serious? We're looking this up right now.
I'm almost positive that's what it is. I forget what video I got this from, because I definitely got this from someone else.
Oh my god. You were right.
I'm almost positive. Oh, that's a lot of description. That's a lot of words.
You guys can't see this, obviously.
He's on a Word doc right now with stuff from the biblical canon. This is. What does it talk about?
Right here.
My prescription is terrible.
Michael plants in the olive and Gabriel the apple, Uriel the nut, Raphael the melon, and Centennial the bomb. Oh no, this is not. No, I'm wrong, guys. Disregard everything I just said. This has to do.
This is truly divine. Centennial planted in the middle of the garden, by which he deceived Eve initially, and then Adam. Because of this, God cursed it and its seed. so if I plant it, then will God be angry with me? This is quotations. And the angel said, rightly you ask, when God asked the... This is good.
Yeah, it's getting too much.
But I'm, okay, don't quote me on this, don't, but I'm pretty sure that's, yeah, well that actually just showed the relevance, and it doesn't show up in typical publications of Genesis, I think, but I think in Theocratic Study, Sitaneliel was either a demon, angel, someone, he was the one responsible for having even Adam eat the forbidden fruit.
Okay.
And reveal knowledge of good and evil to them.
Okay.
Which is a very nice mirror
Thankfully.
to what Maruki is doing, where he was trying to create a sterilized environment where no one has to suffer, no one has to know any of their previous suffering from before. So him putting the blame back on you, where it's like, oh, but if you take away my world, then you're the one who's breaking Ryu's leg, you're the one who's like then causing all these misfortunes to occur. That's an interesting interpretation of what we in Judeo-Christian tradition are taught to think, well, yeah, that's just like it's just a foregone truth that like Eden was the best place for us to be, and Adam and Eve shot the bed, and now we're all worse off because of it. I appreciate Japanese, I appreciate when Japanese people look at Christianity like that, when that's deconstructed in anime and video games and manga and stuff like that, where it's like, well, these forces of good and evil are balanced, so if someone intentionally wanted them to know what good and evil are, there is some merit to that idea, as opposed to being completely ignorant of it.
Yeah, of course.
So see, I do appreciate that simplistic vibe, absolutely. And Yaldabaoth, I'm pretty sure is the... I'm gonna have to show you the Nennyline video later. Nennyline is a very good... Can you put it in the description? She has a lot of good Arcana deconstruction videos, and she talks about Yaldabaoth and the Demiurge, and how he's kind of like the reverse of the Hierophant Arcana. This figure who believes himself to be the god of the world, when really he's been created by something else entirely.
I'm so glad I have you here for some of that, because I know themes, but I did not know all of that.
No, there's definitely symbolism in there. I just feel like it doesn't feel as cohesive within the party in terms of what their personas are.
Oh gosh, no! I didn't see any pattern there. They all seem like
well, they're all
thieves of mythology, right?
They're all mythology, literature, history, who have all at some point gone into an underworld, quote unquote, or like had a fall from grace. That's the word. Sitaneliel and Lucifer legitimately like had like falls, but then Satan Taisei, who's Son Goku, Goemon, who is literally like captured. He was like this reveal like anti-hero, I think, and then he ended up being captured and put to death. Johanna, the female Popus, who was found out after she mythologically gave birth in the middle of some kind of procession or something. So they've all had some kind of fall from grace, but then they've gone through quote unquote hell or underworld, underdark, and then made their ascent back to the mortal plane. So that's the point of their secondary personas. People who have conquered death, which ties in very nicely to how Joker conquers death when Pikachu tries to kill him. And then their third tier personas seem to be a merger of those things, of their initial and secondary ones, which is how, instead of it being Captain Kidd, you get William, because that was Captain Kidd's real name.
Right.
All of that is very well done. It's just that, unfortunately, it's not all Japanese mythology, like with full.
Oh, it clashes a lot.
Yeah, there's not really a cohesive culture in terms.
Yeah, like Robin Hood.
Right.
What was another one? Melody.
Yeah, Melody the Winters. It felt like a deep cut. Like, Haru was nothing like her, but that's.
Well, that's a discussion for another day.
Oh man.
But yes, so thank you. I had you here for symbolism. I was really
But yeah,
themes.
so with that, Royal definitely has some. It has it.
But it's not as profound in your opinion.
I don't think it's as consistent. Maybe I'm preaching too much for consistency, but
Well, there's nothing wrong with that.
or narrative cohesion.
It's not like you
but-
can it's not like you can use peaks in symbolism because that's like again like that's very like not everyone's gonna see it, you know. So
It's not even like I get all of the symbolism from all the different Japanese figures in Persona 4 anyway.
Yeah.
A lot of those were new to me. I only knew Jiraiya and Izanagi.
oh yeah, he doesn't know Jiraiya at this point.
The Toad King. Actually, I think, or was that just Naruto? Anyway.
Yeah, there was a back when I first played Persona 4, I was like, man, Amaterasu, Susanoo, Jiraiya, like, come on, guys. But anyway, that's another story.
Life Sim is what you added.
Yes, and this one is actually a lot easier to talk about than I thought it would be. So, I want to split the life sim strictly from the social links and the confidants, and this is one reason and one reason only. When you think of life sim, you think of all the features it has, what you can do in the game. Like the life sim is a part of the game, and it's a very important one. And here's why: social stats. Every single game has this arbitrary mechanic that prevents you from doing certain things in the game. Like, for example, in Persona 4, you can't ask out a girl unless you're brave. And in Persona 5, you can't start UI Social Link without having 4 ranks and guts. It's all arbitrary. In New Game Plus, this mechanic is completely ignored because you have max social stats, meaning you can do anything you want in the game.
Right.
With that being said, I think a certain game does this mechanic better than in other games. I'm going to tell you right now, P3 does this the worst for 2 reasons. One, there's only 3 of them, and that is the stats are courage, charm, and knowledge. That's it. Those are the only 3 social stats in that game. And optimally, you typically wanted to raise them at night, correct?
Pretty sure.
Because during the day, you mostly wanted to do social links.
Yeah.
And at night, there were only 3 social links you could do at night. You could do you could do the devil, you could do the moon, and
The
the
tower.
tower.
What's the moon and night?
The fat kid, right? Had a name. I hated his social link, so I'm not going to give him the benefit of the doubt of having his own name. He's the only link in that game that goes worse as a character. like becomes a worse person at the end of the confidant. He doesn't learn anything.
No.
Then is the moon done during the day? Then correct me if I'm wrong. It's been a while since I've played
I
Persona 3.
cannot remember. I'll take your word for it.
I don't remember either, so don't quote me on that. But the point is I think P3 did this the worst. I think P4 did this the best, or Golden. Now let me explain why. In Golden, there are certain things that you actually can't say to a character unless you have the required social stat.
Oh, right.
And because of that, they allow you to earn social stats based on how you respond. So you would actually get rewarded for paying attention in the conversation. This didn't happen once in 5. You would never get stat points for saying something. So like in the beginning of 4, you can get some extra courage if you speak up against King Moron. I think that's really cool game design. And I also think that in P4, or Golden rather, another cool thing that you can do is that you can read books which increase the amount of social stats you get for doing something.
And that definitely felt like a throw. It just felt like more of a throwaway thing in 5. The fact that they had like some books that you could read. It always felt like you could be doing something else.
Oh yeah, absolutely. They even added in video games, DVDs.
And that was fun. That was cute. Not necessarily playing with some of those games, but definitely in 4. It actually there was something. It was so mundane, but it felt so appropriate to like
It felt right.
just sit down and do your part-time job, or sit down and like finish the book, and then you finish it after like 3 or 4 reads and just like, yes! And then you might get up to a new stat rank. So that just felt nice.
And in P5, there are a lot of options. Like, there are so many
Yeah.
fun things you can do in The Sims. So, like, it's not like I'm not giving it. I don't think that it does it better or worse, but it just feels like in P5, the social stats generally feel like entry barriers and not stats. You know what I mean?
Yeah, when you look up, it's like, if I don't have this at a certain rank, I'm screwed. As opposed to a natural progression.
It generally feels like I'm more connected to the social stats in Golden than it does in 5. However, I think 5 does the life simulator part the best because it's the newest game, so it's going to have the most features in that regard. So in this regard, I'm going to give it a tie because I think Golden does the social stats the best, and then I think Royal does what you can do in the world of Tokyo, isn't it? Isn't it Tokyo technically?
Yeah. Tokyo, Shibuya.
Yeah.
Shibuya, Tokyo.
Shibuya Tokyo, yeah. It gives you the best option. It gives you the most amount of options for things that you can do in the life sim.
Yeah.
But I think Golden does the social stats the best. So I'm gonna give it a tie. I think they excel at different things, but overall they're the best. They're the best life sims. It's not 3.
Yeah, they're head and shoulders above 3 in that respect.
And I guess we can talk about this mechanic here since we're about to get to the next topic. In 3, your social links can get reversed. I always thought that was the dumbest thing in the world. Let's talk about social links and confidants. Alright, so this one shouldn't be too hard to talk about. I know we're going to talk a lot about it. Because the thing is, and you may not want to hear this, I think a lot of the confidants in 5 are not designed appropriately. And we've talked about this a lot. Let me explain why. I want you to think back to a lot of the confidants in 5, right? The right off the bat, I can tell you the best ones, okay? It's Sojiro, Sojiro, in Royal, Akechi is really good.
Oh yeah.
See, this is hard. You gotta be careful because, like, I can put out flaws in a lot of the confidants in 5. Maruki's is really good, but again, that's Royal specific. Kazumi, the first 5 of Kazumi's is really bad, and then the last 5 are actually really good when you find out what her real name is.
She's a real person.
Yeah, when she actually acts like a real character. Yeah, those are the standout ones for me. Everything else after that could be just considered subjective or flawed. Like, for example, my favorite character in Royal is Makoto. She has one of the worst confidants in the game. And why is that?
Accurate statement.
Because 70% of it isn't even about Makoto. It's about some random character we never see again outside of her confidant.
Right.
I think that's terrible. I think that's awful writing, and it doesn't teach me that much about Makoto. There are 3 good ranks in that confidant. The first one, the one where she talks about her dad,
Yeah.
and the last one. That's it. Every other rank, I could just be like, oh, why are we talking about this Aiko chick? I genuinely don't care, and I will never see her again.
Was she even on the student council?
No!
Yeah, no.
She was just a random character that Makoto thought she could increase her horizons by meeting, and she never brings her up again. It's not like Shiho. If it were Shiho, like that level of friend, I'd be like, okay.
Yeah.
This chick doesn't even have a freaking face, dude. It's a generic NPC. And I'm just like, why do I even care?
Even the model chick from Ons had a face.
Yeah, Mika? Yeah.
She was a real person.
But my point is a lot of confidants do that. They stop talking about the character they're about and just throw in this third party to try and progress. Like, for example, On has Mika in it. Yusuke has the art director guy in it.
Yeah.
And he becomes pretty important in the confidant. Another example.
Did you do something with the track team than with the current cat or current coaching?
The new coach, but he's not. It's not as involved. That guy's only in 2 of the ranks.
Yeah.
So that's not as bad. I'm talking about like confidants like Makoto, like
Futaba's where it's about her and then it switches to her childhood friend.
yeah.
And and then we have to fix her parents' hearts.
Any link that involves us going to Mementos, oh gosh, it just feels wrong because it's no longer about, learning about them and helping them improve as people. It's us realizing that there's a problem, and then we fan fuse it.
And I'll give it to maybe. I like that with Kawakami.
Kawakami's is the exception. I think that was good because over time she has a problem at the very beginning of the link, and then we're confidant. And then you gradually learn more about it, and then finally she snaps. You take care of the problem. Same thing with Takemi.
Yeah.
I think Takemi's was pretty good too.
She was the second one I was about to bring up. I thought that went with her arc as a character pretty well.
Yeah, I think it did.
To show that she's had a fall from grace herself, but how much she loves medicine, how much she loves saving people.
Yeah. And a good example of a good confidant, I think, is the politician. I think his confidant's really good.
I like that one too, honestly.
It's good.
He doesn't
Really
make
good.
as much of an impact on me as a character, but the struggles he was going through as one of the few not terrible adults in this world, trying to reclaim his position within politics, after he'd kind of gone through one of the same pitfalls that all these other no-good adults have been going through.
Yeah.
Him trying to reclaim that for himself. And
I thought it was really good.
yeah, rebuild his own reputation. That was a good time.
Yeah, it was good. But here's the thing, it's just there are a lot of confidants in that game where you don't really learn that much about the character. You understand that there's a problem, and then you do your best to fix it, and then half of them involve you going to Mementos to beat a shadow. What does that do? How do you understand that character more by taking care of their problem for them out of sight?
And that part too, because we were able to kind of get past that with Mishima. The fact that I don't think we had to fight Mishima.
No, we walked up to him, told him that he's not worth it, and then left. That's exactly what happened. It almost feels like commentary on the fact that we've been going to Mementos for most of these social links to take care of problems. Just be like, you're not even worth doing that. And Akechi's is different because you go to Mementos to fight Akechi. He challenges you to a duel.
That's right.
That's amazing. But all these other links where I'm just like, I want to learn about you. I don't mind helping out your problem by going to Mementos, but tell me more about you. And it's just not all confidants do that. And therefore suffer because of it.
So when you compare that to something or something like Yosuke's social link,
Right.
where you've got NPCs in there, you've got the
Junes employees.
yeah, for giving him crap, and then with Yukiko dealing with the reporters,
Yeah.
or with Naoto, and was that her? Who was the one leaving her?
Her grandpa.
That was her grandpa.
That was so cute.
Yeah, things like that, and then seeing Kanye's mom.
Come on, yeah, it's not. These people.
that's fine.
Their whole point of is to bring out the dynamic in these characters.
Right, they help reinforce the characters that you're actually talking to.
It just feels like such a difference in terms of writing and overall enjoyment for me personally. Again, this whole list is subjective, so at the end of this video, I'm gonna say this again. If you disagree with anything, more power to you, man. Everybody's got their preferences, and I'd like to encourage discussion like this in the comments. So leave a comment or a dislike if you don't like what I'm saying. But what I'm trying to say is
100 dislikes.
that's fine. I'll hold my L. But my point is I think if I had to choose between if I would rather have social links or confidants, I would choose social links. They're just more engaging, and you get to learn more about the characters versus confidants, where some of them they show you some stuff about the characters, and then you go to Mementos to take care of their problem.
Yeah.
The phone calls at the end of the confidants are amazing that they had it into Royal, which I think are a great feature to help them out, but it doesn't fix the overall problem. That being said, in Fest, some of the social links are bad and not very fun. For example, the Moon was a horrible one. What's another bad one?
I would say the Devil just because of how much you had to shell out for that one, and I feel like you don't get as much payoff.
You don't. The Devil's pretty. I mean, I like him as a character, obviously. Like it's the.
He's a meme.
Yeah, he's a meme.
For real.
What's another one? No, there was one in particular that was really bad.
With Justice. I remember you not liking her.
God, she was so obnoxious, dude. But no, that wasn't the one I was thinking of. That is another mediocre one.
Fortune is decent.
Fortune was okay. It was just the kid who wanted to become a photographer but ended up being a doctor, right? Student council president was fine.
Yeah, I like that one. Was he the president or was he like something?
No, he was the president. No, not the president. I'm sorry, the chairman? No.
Class rep? No, because he wasn't our
No.
class.
Yeah, the president was Mitsuru. What am I smoking?
Exactly. So what? Was he something?
He was
Or
something important.
Or was he legitimately like the vice president?
He might have been the vice president. I genuinely don't even remember.
Because he was our age. Or he was, I mean, obviously obsession, but it was age.
Yeah, right.
Either way, I liked his.
Yeah, his was good. All of the party members, I think, have some merit too. Well, you know, the females.
Kenji, magician. I think that gives the most bog standard, basic, store brand version of a magician
Yeah,
character
that,
arc.
that was very boring.
Oh.
Jesus Christ! But and then there's ones that clearly go above the rest. This is probably my favorite social link in the game. Is Igus. I don't even know how they were able to create such a compelling social link. Like, oh my gosh. But anyway, but go on. What were you saying?
No, just I guess it's.
Yeah, it's just that good. It's so good, dude. So my point is that I think overall, I think Golden and Fess do the social links the best. And that's not because I don't think there aren't any good confidants in 5. I think Sojiro, Akechi, Takemi Kawakami, and Tora, yeah, the politician, and
Oh, what about Iwai?
I don't think his is that special. I think it's okay. I just don't think it's like
Thinking that fair.
it's a
What
cool.
was the struggle? Why did I even bring up? I didn't finish his.
You're not gonna do that.
I love Gun Daddy, but I know I didn't finish his.
Oh, unfortunate. Yeah, those are the 5 that stand out to me. Like a lot of the party members in 5 were very flawed. If I were to pick, this is gonna sound wild. Yusuke's link was boring for most of it, but at least it had a very good character development moment for him as a character.
I think it did. Yeah.
It ended that was the most Persona 4 social link in a game filled with confidants, in my opinion.
I think.
It started, he had a problem, you helped him through it without using mementos, and he became a better person because of it.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's good. Not everybody thinks he's interesting, but that's subjective, and I think the link itself was very, very worth the confidant.
I agree. I think it's one of the best confidants in the team.
Yeah, absolutely. Because you look at An. At the end of the day, all you end up doing is helping her take her model career seriously. What do you learn about her as a character? Other than the second rank where she talks about how she likes villains and whatnot. After that, it's all about helping her become a better model.
I did like I think there's one where she goes physical therapy.
She does that off screen.
Oh right, you don't see it, but she talks about it.
Yeah, she talks about it afterwards. That's really good. And obviously the scene with Shio was powerful, you know? Rank 9, it was really powerful. But yeah, I didn't like Makoto's link, I didn't like Haru's link. Ryuji's link is... It's very in the... I love Ryuji as a character, if we'll get there when we get to talk about characters. His link doesn't really help him that much become a better person. He starts off with his transformation, and it stays that way for the rest of the game. You don't help him become a better person. He's already a better person because he awakened to his persona. He remains consistent throughout the entire link, you know?
Yeah. I think it's kind of like...
And that's fine. Yeah, exactly. Side content, this one, oh yes, so I would say Golden does the social link concept the best, and then I think Fest does it the second best. Not to say that there aren't any good ones in Royal. Like, for example, like I said, Sojiro is probably in my top 3 confidants social links of all time.
But for the most part,
There's a lot that don't hit as hard. Side content. This isn't even a debate. I think Royal has the best side content. The Thieves' Den alone trumps anything in the other 2 games.
yeah, because you really can't do that much outside. Like, really, you can't do that much for fun.
Yeah, exactly.
In the other games. At the end of the day, like, you might love going out to karaoke or something, and imagining Minato singing karaoke. And the Elizabeth side quests are fun. Those are precious. What would the side content for you be?
It's the 100 side quests that you can do in the game.
Oh, that's right. I didn't do that. Just because it makes me. I'm not a completionist, but
I'm not either. And
it makes me feel like I should be when I'm doing those side quests.
Miguel, when you eventually watch this, just know that those side quests were made for you, buddy. I think the runner-up personally should probably be Fest. I think the Elizabeth side quests are really fun. Or not the side quests, the visits you do with her, I think are really cool.
Yeah, the missions.
What else? I'm pretty sure you can. 3 has that extra dungeon, right? Where you can go. and grind.
Right.
Yeah, 4 doesn't have that. 4 has like the worst EXP growth in terms of late game, but 3 at least has like, you know.
You might have to hear about over and over again. Like a crazy person, like I did.
Yeah, that's what I did too. Fun fact, if you didn't already know, the final dungeon and Magetsu Iba have their EXP values swapped. They never fixed this in Golden. I don't know why. I don't know why. But yeah, not much to talk about in terms of side content. Like I said, Royal has Thieves' Den. It has the optional fights in the Velvet Room. It's untested, I think.
Card game, it has pool, it has
Yeah.
darts.
It has a lot of fun side content
Yeah.
you can do.
And the different kinds of digs you can do too.
Alright. This last one, this one right here is the only one where I'm just going to put a giant subjective for before we start.
Accurate.
Because let me tell you again, this is very, very subjective. The character dynamic is a completely different story. There is clearly a game that does this better than the others. And Austin and I already know which one it is. But characters, very subjective. So, I just want to check how long I've been recording. I've been recording for almost over an hour. Wow. This is going to be crazy. I wonder if I can upload this whole thing. I probably can.
Maybe split it up. I don't know.
But
Is that possible?
It is possible to split it up, but that wouldn't be as fun. That would require effort, but we'll get to that later. Anyway, so, characters. Again, very subjective. I'm going to tell you right off the bat, it's not 3 for me. I think 3 is my least favorite cast. And let me tell you why. By default, it's my least favorite cast because it's the game that explores them the least amount. To this day, I still just don't understand why instead of Kenji we had Junpei. Instead of Junpei we had Kenji.
Yeah.
Why we had
The star athlete instead of Akihiko.
Akihiko. Yeah, like why? Come on, guys. Like,
And you know, he has a name, and the fat kid instead, the gourmet king instead of Shinjiro.
It just makes no sense, and because of that, I feel like we get less information about the characters by default. In terms of like overall aesthetics, personalities, like it's insane how well Persona 4's cast is in comparison to the other 2 games. I like Royal's characters, but if I were to say like overall, like if I were to do like there's like favorite boys and favorite girls, my favorite male character is definitely Yosuke out of all of the characters in the Persona series, and my favorite female would probably be Makoto from P5. And then after that, it just becomes like this giant like mix of characters in between the games. Like it's not like I like all three's characters the least or like all four characters the best. Like it's a giant mix. But what you can rate is just how well they relate to you, not only to you at a personal level, but to the audience and to themselves as characters. So what do you think?
This is always hard for me. Maybe it's because I played it first, but I have such a fondness for the P3 characters.
That is wild. I'm impressed.
Even Akihiko, who like arguably, I would argue Akihiko gets some of the least character work in the entire.
I learned more about him in Arena than I did sometimes.
Accurate. And that might be part of it too, like the kind of Arena Ultimax. You're seeing them after all their glow ups, so you're seeing the people they become. It's like, oh, Yukari used to be low-key a jerk, but now she's like everyone's best friend. Like this is great. Like Akihiko's like a total adrenaline junkie, and Fuka's totally settled now. Like those are all cool things to see. Whereas who they were before, those things weren't quite as defined as they were in 4 and 5. Cast-wise, okay, I'm not making a definitive decision yet, but talking about 5 for a second.
Yeah.
I don't know if we talked about this together or if I talked about this with someone else. That feels like a game where characterization was definitely distributed unevenly. I think Makoto and Futaba and Akechi definitely got the most of it.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Like they feel the most consistent, they feel the most self-realized. Well, maybe not Akechi in there yet. In Royal.
In Royal,
Yes.
I was about to say, like,
Yeah.
I don't even, that's not even a question. He got more screen time than Haru did. Like, bro.
And then, you know, you have, and then in the next rung, I would put the blondes and I'd put Kasumi. And then I'm going to put Yusuke and Haru in the bottom. Like, I know who they are and, like, I get their stuff, but low-key get off my screen. I don't care that much.
Really?
Okay. This is where it gets super subjective, and I know that people have a fondness for fluffy Haru. She is quite fluffy.
She is very
And Yusuke's a meme. Wish I could date him, but because that's when bias comes in. I'm just like, okay.
They definitely missed the ball with that.
Why does it feel like, and not even like, oh, like he's a worse character because of that.
No, that's not it.
But it's like, I don't know, and maybe this goes more with character dynamics, but just in terms of, how do I put this? I don't know how they really, what they're supposed to really represent after a while. Like, when I was talking about that character who should probably be the cynical one, or the one who's a bit more reserved, the one who's a bit more, not as gung-ho on the whole Phantom Thieves thing. I kind of wish that was Yusuke.
Oh, yeah, because...
I wish he was more of the solemn one. He can be weird or whatever. I didn't have a problem with that necessarily, but I kind of would have appreciated if he and Makoto were the consistent pragmatists, and then you've got the blondes and An and Ryuji being all gung ho. You're like, no, we're doing the same thing, blah blah blah, and it's the other two being like, don't know. And then Morgana's invested regardless, and then Futaba's Switzerland. Futaba's on her computer, she doesn't care, and then I imagined Haru to be the calming force who keeps all of these conflicting personalities in check. So maybe that's my problem, that they weren't really the characters that I wanted them to be, and that's on me. But Yusuke, for me, did not really introduce a dynamic into the team.
No, he really didn't.
Nor did he improve it. Like, if anything, it felt like he kind of got either throwaway lines or he would have random philosophical things to say, but it would feel almost out of character for him because every other time he's talking about how hungry he is, or the fact that he spent a ridiculous amount of money on things that Anna wouldn't want. Like,
Yeah, no, you're right.
it's just kind of weird. And then with Haru,
Don't even get me started on Haru.
I don't know.
Don't even get me started on Haru. That character is a train wreck.
She's just a cornucopia of missed opportunity.
They could have done so much with that character, dude.
And with Persona 4, I think at the end of the day, even though I can sit here and be like, oh, wish I could date Yosuke, oh, wish we did more with Yukiko, wish I related to Rise's storyline a bit more, I still feel like that across the board they're all the most self-actualized, which makes sense because they all interrogated their shadows. And that might be the quote-unquote problem. With Persona 3, they didn't know that shadows were the other side of personas. They didn't know that was a manifestation of humanity's insecurities, and things like that. So the way they access their personas was basically by forcing them out, by putting themselves into life or death situations. And then once they go through something, I mean, Fukusuke's not traumatic, but when they go through a very big internal change, that's when their personas evolve. But they didn't target their own insecurities and their own shadows, figuratively speaking, in the head-on way that Persona 4's cast did. So they changed whenever they changed. And as much as I like that, where it's like, yeah, no, you're not going to see Junpei's final Persona until the very end. He took the longest to change, and then Fuka, I think, was one of the first.
I know Akiko was the first.
Akiko was the first, and then I think it was Fuka, maybe Ken. Yeah. And then
Yukari, Junpei were the last two.
Oh, I thought that Agus was like right before Junpei or something. When was that?
Might have been I guess been then Junpei.
Anyway, I think that was all appropriate. Damn it, I think this went into first place for me.
Really?
Just the fact that they did at least, even though they didn't get the chance to interrogate that head on, they were still all able to come to their own resolutions and all find their own reasons for fighting.
I can object that. And then we're gonna get there. Objection. This happens.
Ooh! Okay, shit. Okay, fine. Y'all, he just typed the answer in capital letters. Fuck. Yeah, no, I have to perform first then. Because that was some borderline character assassination.
I cannot believe they did that. That was so bad, dude. I'm sorry, but I could never after the answer. Absolutely freaking not, dude.
Ouch, I forgot.
The answer didn't exist? Yeah, sure. I can understand putting 3's cash over 5, but, or no, over 4, but,
yeah, on an individual level,
the answer butchered all of those characters except for Junpei. But Junpei's the only one that remained consistent throughout the entire thing. And I guess to an extent.
yeah, I guess at least got to like have a new arc for herself, which was cool. Yeah, I think when you look at Persona 4 on an individual level, all of them are definitely most self-actualized between whether it's within the arcs they were introduced in, their social links, their interactions with other party members. Yeah, I think. Yeah, it's hard to argue that shit.
I'm sorry, dude.
Oh.
So for you, here, well, we obviously have different opinions on this, except for who we think has the best characters. We both think that Golden has the best, right?
Yeah.
And then for me, this is my reasoning for why I think Royal's cast is better than 3, and I think that's fine that we can have different opinions on this. I can't get inside the head of some of these characters.
That's real.
I genuinely I look at Junpei, and sometimes it's really even hard to get past his "who's the man" exterior that he gives off. Like, I can't see inside his head like I can see inside of Yosuke's, inside of Ryuji's. Like, I can't relate to some of these characters, and that's strictly because either A, Atlas doesn't let us because they don't give us enough information, or their traits are so, their resolve to get past this is put more emphasis in than themselves as characters. And you can also argue that that's a good thing. I personally find it harder to relate to that, personally. But that's just my opinion. Everybody can have different takes on this. I don't think any game has a bad cast. I think they're all amazing. And that's just party members. We didn't even talk about side characters all that much outside of their social links. Not that it's that important.
That's a good question. Looking at the larger cast. Ooh, looking at the larger cast. Yikes. Yeah, Persona 4 is one.
Dojima,
Nanako,
Adachi.
Shit. Yeah, no, you can't. It's hard to beat that.
And then Royal has Sojiro, Sai.
Yeah.
Kamoshida is a horrible piece of garbage, but he's an interesting character.
He's a pretty iconic antagonist. Absolutely.
And Maruki blows almost all of the characters away from Persona 3, in my opinion. So that's why I'm going to put Royal second. Would you like to put 3 second still?
Objectively speaking, it's hard to argue differently. Because, yeah, looking at the larger cast of Persona 3, Ryoji's whole thing, very sad, very tragic, but is that deep? No. It's effective. Deep? Not sure. And then for the rest of the cast, well, then you're just a little stray man, and I really only care about Shinori because you can care so much about her, even though I did find her arc, again, very sad.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that's a good point, too, in terms of relatability, because a lot of them have stories that are so sad.
Yeah.
They're so... Like, it's like they live in hyperbole.
They do,
honestly.
yeah.
And I think it was easy to at least... They're very identifiable and very iconic characters, I think, in terms of their personas, not even in terms of, like, their fighting personas, but who they are as people. The personas that they present as their identities are so strong.
Yeah.
So they come off very archetypal.
Yeah, I agree.
And you can't really relate to archetypes.
No, you can't. They're more like... Sometimes you can look at them more as personifications over characters.
Right.
And not everybody vibes with that.
Like, the third grade in a nutshell. Like,
Yeah.
they're super cool, and in my opinion, they're like, well, there weren't no secrets before, but like, they really did feel like those things you could rely on.
They did.
Yeah, where like you really felt like as a second year, you're looking up to them, oh, I can learn from all of their successes and all their failures. Whereas in 3, 5, you've got Makoto.
Yeah!
If you've got one Sentai, yeah, no, I'm gonna have to drop. Yeah, objectively speaking, as much as I am fond of those characters, they didn't carry the right as well.
No, and we're going to get into character dynamic next. But before we get into character dynamic, there is one category that I think we should talk about that is very, very important, specifically between you and me. And it's going to be a tie. And this category is going to be called Games That Don't Have Marie. And it's going to be a tie between Royal and E3 Fest. I think it's time we finally talk about Marie and why we both don't like her at all. Because I do not like this character.
It feels a bit unfair because I have not played 5 Royal yet. And I feel similarly
Oh, about
from an
Kazumi?
outside perspective about Kazumi, even though she's a playable character. So So I was watching the scene where like Yu Narukami gets off the train station, and then should I just be on camera at this point? Sorry.
That's okay.
You're looking at me. He like gets off the train station, and then he bumps into Marie, or like he drops the letter or whatever, and then Marie's like, oh, like you dropped this, blah blah blah. And after that point, like whenever Marie show up, I remember Allie being so excited, just like, oh my god, like she's so cute, she's such a cute little Sunday. And I'm sitting there and talking to her like, God, this basic bitch.
Yeah.
Like, God, she was shoehorned in. But I had to respect the fact that Allie didn't have any previous context of what someone looked like. Marie seemed like a completely natural inclusion to her. So I can't sit here and be like, oh, like she felt like a complete accessory. She felt completely tangential to the experience. Because they put her, those spots that they put her into, I will say that if they tried to shoehorn her into any more stuff, it would have been a problem.
Oh, it would have been horrible.
I think what the things that, the way that they tried to integrate her is like, this is probably the best version of this we can get. Like, about once a month, like after it feels like just about every time you finish someone else's, like you've gotten someone's persona and added up to the team, then Marie's ready for a social link encounter, and then she ends up talking to Yosuke, and then she talks to Chie, and then she goes out with Chie and Yumiko. Playing through those all actually felt pretty nice. And I think she's a part of the environment enough. So in that regard, I don't have as many problems with her. In terms of her as a character, hashtag not my type.
Yeah,
hashtag not my bias.
As much as I love Golden's cast, Marie is the big stain. Just like how in Royal, I think Haru and Oya are the big stains. And in P3 Fest, I think...
I don't think a party member sticks out to me.
Nah, if I were to pick like my least favorite party member, it's probably Ken.
Sure.
But
in terms of like a stain,
Stain.
I would not go that far. That would,
other than the Moon Arcana.
yeah, that would be more on the social links.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Some of the social links.
Yeah.
And the villain in P3, I think, was very mediocre outside of the final boss. Not having a proper villain character in P3, other than like I didn't even think Strago was all that
Yeah,
good.
that really was more of an existential struggle. Really, that felt the most like you're fighting against humanity's will in that way.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Which again, thematically strong, but then didn't really give you that great of an antagonist. It's not that I hate all tsunderes. I like some tsunderes.
Yeah, my favorite female character in media starts out like that.
Like, I like Kyosuke as much as the next person. I like Takagi from High School of Death. That is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love Takagi so much. I don't know exactly his name, but I like Takagi. Yeah, just the whole like, oh, and also I write terrible poetry. Aren't I so cute? I'm like,
What do you have to offer? Like, get off the screen.
like, it just feels like they keep trying to endear her to me, and I'm like, I don't buy
Her
it.
interactions with the party members are the best part about her. I liked her confidant, her social link, because it was so much fun. Like, when she went shopping with Chie and Hiko, that was so funny,
That was
dude.
legitimately
They could have done so much more with Marie, and they just, I don't know.
Yes, and then it felt like they kind of wanted to keep her locked away in the limousine.
Yeah.
In the velvet room.
The nose doesn't have cable. Like shit like that, that's hilarious.
That is funny. Her antagonist relationship with Margaret
Yeah.
from Mars Asylum. She's like, excuse her for being a rude ass.
Oh, I love Margaret, dude. Best Velvet Room character, easily.
Elizabeth was a close second.
Yeah, for sure. I'm not a fan of the twins. Anyway, character dynamic. We won't really have to talk about this that much. I think it's golden. Just spoiler alert. I think it's golden.
Because it goes back to what we were just most self-actualized characters, meaning, and there are definitely some forms of media, both shows, games, whatever, where they have very good individual characters, but then they don't get a very good group dynamic.
Yes.
This game, yeah, Golden definitely had the strongest one.
Absolutely. Not even a question.
I think there were, because again, I like the customer center, but a lot of that dynamic was antagonistic.
Yeah, it was negative at points
And we got to overcome those.
by the end of the game.
Yeah, so it's like, oh, thank God we're all friends. Oh.
But they literally felt like coworkers that didn't like being around each other.
Yeah.
And because of that alone, I'm gonna give the HM a Royal. And here's the reason you didn't play it, Mr. Taylor. The ending of Royal is all about them realizing they all have different goals in life. And they separate because of that. And you wanna know what happens in P3?
Oh shit. Y'all, he keeps having to type the answer to remind me. Yeah.
You call that a resolving character dynamic?
Yeah, because as soon as Minato is dead, then it just shatters. It just completely fractures. And I guess that's like, it's go to a character overall really and become the new anchor for the entire group. Ooh.
Garbage. Anyway.
Yeah, I think it was definitely the most dynamic to watch by different, but yeah, the dynamic is the unit cohesion of the third cast is the weakest. The unit cohesion of the fourth cast is the strongest. I think in terms of dynamic interactions, I think I really liked 3.
Okay.
Because you got to see so much interactions with like Yukari, Junpei, Yukari, Mitsuru, Akihiko, Ken/Shinji, like all those things. I think that was really when they felt the most human.
It's too bad it's a small portion of the interactions, though.
Exactly. Because again, you don't even get half of them as humans, so then you miss out on that too. With Royal, I'm putting them in second because of what you just said. Like, answer is like negative 10 points.
Yeah.
So whatever score I try to give the cast. With Royal, I think, again, I just expected so many more dynamics, and they were doing that in the beginning. Like, with like Ryuji and An and how, like, they were friends in middle school, but then they kind of like, not fallen out with each other, but they just hadn't talked to each other a lot. So it was a little bit tense with them, but then they end up being bros again.
Yeah.
And then Makoto comes in, and it's tense.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh my god, like the way the way she antagonizes us, the way we antagonize her right back. But then when she finally joins the team, then she and An have that scene. That worked really nicely, and I like how Futaba fits into the group too.
Yeah. She ends up being like an adhesive, like glue.
Yeah.
And then Haru comes in and then feels like oil and mixed in with water, but...
To be fair, what happens first is that Morgana just goes nuclear.
Oh, don't even get me started. Okay, no, there is one more category I do want to add.
Does this count as a character, or is this just a talking point?
No, mascot.
Oh, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm just gonna...
Or Koromaru, honestly.
I'm gonna put it's P3 Fest and then Golden Ancient.
I'm gonna put Koromaru above Teddy and
Morgana.
Even though Teddy is also a self-realized character. Gotta give him credit. Also, I love Sam Riegel. We stand. But yeah,
Aigis is the fucking coolest character in that game, dude. I don't know why they can't write characters like her anymore, man.
I'm so glad that she got the final monologue. She deserved it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh my goodness. And it was just...
In Portable, you can ruin that.
Oh right, it can be someone else.
It's so stupid, dude.
Yeah, in hindsight, that's not the... I mean, I get it. If I was playing as Minako, and the last person I was ever going to see was going to be on the roof, and it was Shinji, I can feel that.
Yeah,
I can feel that.
That's yeah.
But I guess, like, what, you're really going to have, like, Junpei be the last person? Like, that's terrible.
That's so bad to say.
Is it? I guess it's monologue versus anything Junpei has to say.
Sup, dude?
Like before you close your eyes for a second.
I could do his voice really well. Who's the man? Anyway, it's not even a question. P3 Fest has the best mascot, and then Teddy's better than Morgana, so he gets second place.
Because he just commits to being a perv.
Yeah.
Morgana's not trying to be like, oh, well, that won't be you, but like, not trying to talk about like that, but like. Morgana just, there are things about it that I like, and you know, my sister wants a plushie of him.
Does she really?
Because he's so dark. Like, just like the chibi design of him was just making us laugh when she was watching him play it. Just like the silly cat because you made. But
Ew.
as a character, obnoxious.
Obnoxious. Probably my least favorite party member in that
He
game.
hijacked Haru's character.
Oh my gosh, Haru could have been so cool, dude.
That was messed up.
Alright, lastly is just extra, and what I mean by extra, I'm talking specifically about... So, Fess, Golden, and Royal all added a third component to the game that enhances them as HD re-releases, right? Or not HD, re-releases. Royal added the third semester, Golden added the month of January, and Fess added the answer. I don't even think I need to talk to you about what is the worst. The answer is terrible. It's so bad. I can't believe they made it, and I really, really wish they didn't and just could have just even a 5-hour campaign of just experiencing why Minato had to become the symbol, the seal, would have been perfect. But no, instead we get a 20-hour campaign that turns the game into hard mode. You don't get the compendium. And all of the characters just turn on each other for incredibly selfish reasons. It's ridiculous. So, I'm gonna give it to Royal and Golden for making such a compelling post-game content.
Oh, I thought you were going to put Royal above Golden.
Here's the thing. I would, but there's one problem. And that problem is that you enjoy Royal's post-game based on how much you love the characters. The dungeon itself is really good, but actually no, screw that. I hated Marie's dungeon. Yeah, no.
I was about to say.
Yeah, no.
I was about to sit here and be like, oh, is he going to find a way to like redeem the, not redeem, because narratively
It works. Yeah, no, I disliked Marie's dungeon. Yeah, no, never mind. Royal has the best post-game campaign. In terms of its really. So, now that we went through all these categories, I just want to just put in something that maybe you might not realize. These categories are not equal. In terms of what's important for a game, these two are the most important by far. They make what the foundation of the game is. You can have a mediocre soundtrack but still have an amazing game, right? A lot of these are just little things that help, well, maybe not these two, but a lot of these are just little things that make the game more enjoyable for you and me. And hey, you know, again, if you have different responses to these, it's cool with us. It just means that you have different opinions, and no opinion is wrong, except if you think P5 is better than P5 Royal, then your opinion is just wrong. But
unless you just really don't like Kasumi.
yeah, hey, she's a good character, damn
I'll
it.
take your word for it.
So, any other thoughts before we give out what we personally think is the best Persona game?
Well, it is just funny looking on here that we put Fez in first for story, we put Royal in first for gameplay, and then we put Golden first for characters. That seems like the strongest. I feel like I just answered my own question actually when I first posited this.
Yeah.
To you. Oh, I guess this was the eventual answer anyway.
I always, when everyone always asks me, like, what I think the best Persona game is, I give them these three answers. Like, we did all of these categories, but at the end of the day, I think P5 is the best game, P3 has the best narrative, and P4 has the best characters / character dynamic. They all excel at different things, and that's what I think really makes these games unique and special.
Yeah.
But in terms of if I were to recommend a non-Persona fan a Persona game, I would give them 5 Royal, 100%. If I've hooked almost 10 people in the city of Jacksonville on this series off of Persona 5 alone. And that's just because it's a game that people can play, get into, and get invested in as a JRPG. For Golden and Fess have a little bit of a more of a, not necessarily a learning curve, but like a jump to get to the good stuff. The game starts at P5 and it's already crazy.
That's true. It literally throws you into the game.
Yeah.
Because I think, not even 3, 4 starts off with like a mini tutorial, but that game starts so
It's 3 to 5 hours depending on how fast you read.
I remember watching gameplay of it on YouTube, and I was just like, am I watching the right video? Is this the right game? Because we haven't been playing it.
Yeah, it's just so much.
And then we got to like, Saki Diaries, like, okay, okay, I think there's a game here. I think, after seeing how much my friend, Ali, how well she responded to Persona 4 Golden, I feel like that's one that I would want to recommend, but in terms of immediate enjoyment and consistent enjoyment, I could definitely, it's between Golden and Royal for me. It's hard to decide, honestly.
I can't recommend P3 Fest to someone with a straight face unless they've already played a Persona or Shin Megami Tensei game. I can't.
But unfortunately, the thing with that is that if they've played Shin Megami, then maybe it'll be a better experience for them. But if they've already played 4 or 5,
No. So,
you can't go back.
my apologies for the yawn, but whenever someone asks me what's the best order to play the games in, I always tell them 4, 3, 5. 100%. You never want to start with 5 because it's only going to get harder as a game.
Yeah.
And you don't want to start with 3 because if you start with 3, you might get turned off from how, unaccessible the game is in terms of difficulty if you're new to JRPGs.
That's true.
So, that is why, in my personal... And this isn't my favorite game of all time. Anybody that knows me, that Persona 5 Royal is my favorite game of all time. And Persona 4 Golden is in my top 5. Persona 3 Fest is in, my top 20-ish. And the reason for that is this right here.
Yeah.
This is unacceptable, dude. If I were to ever play P3 again, which I will be this year, actually,
Nice.
I'll be streaming it.
Hey.
I'm debating doing... I was debating if I should use the mod that allows me to control my party members in Fest, but then I thought about it, I wouldn't be getting the Persona 3 experience. I would just be playing Persona 4 with Persona 3's world, and while that sounds enticing, it's not the real game. So...
Do it if you want to.
I mean, yeah, but the point is the game would be very easy because, like
That's
I said,
true. That's true.
the AI is not designed to handle you being able to control your party members.
True.
That's why freaking Portable is so easy, dude. You can guard in that game, dude. That's so wild to me. The fact that
You can dizzy shadows.
dizzy shadows. Unbelievable, dude.
Do you
Unbelievable.
even choose what skills you keep on your other party members, or do those just... Okay. Okay.
Yeah, don't worry, guys. We still think Fast is the better way to play, even though Portable is just such a better gameplay-wise. Here, I'll do this. If you played Portable, I would be okay with this answer right here because Portable,
For gameplay.
yeah, because Portable did really add something to the gameplay part of Persona 3. Same thing with the social links, because some people really dig the female MC.
She's tired.
Some people think that's her jam, and you know what? It makes sense to me. So,
Relationship with the other party members, with Ryoji,
the fact that you get all of the party members as social links is just
Yeah.
ridiculously hard to pass up. You know,
Yeah.
it's way too hard.
Okay, so just for, like you said, this isn't all weighted equally, but I'm just trying to count.
Oh yeah, if you want to like count just in categories overall, let's give a first place to 2 points or 3 points, and then let's give an honorable mention 1 point.
Sure.
So 3. Yeah, it's gonna be weird. 3,
Let me write this down.
4, 5. No. 7, 10, 11, 12, 13. I gave P3 Fest 13 points.
Okay.
And then I gave Golden 2, 6, 7, 10, 13, 16, 19, 21.
Shit.
Yeah, you ready for the Royal? 1, 4, 5, 8, 9, 10, 13, 16, 17. Oh no. 19, 22, 25, 26, 29.
Well, shit, I guess
That's just from me personally. and,
Royal's the best game.
and that no, that is not how this works. But that's just for me. And obviously Austin's total would be different too. But that's just how I see Persona, man. And they all excel at different things. So
Absolutely.
again, remember, don't forget that you're allowed to have a different Persona favorite. And if it's Persona 2, or even if you're one of those weird guys that really think Persona 1's the best Persona experience, it's cool
That's
too.
fair too.
That's fair.
I really want to go back. Those characters in that narrative seem really interesting.
They do. It's just I'm scared to play that game.
It seems archaic from the outside.
Very.
And it might be archaic from the inside. But I'll try to give it give it a go.
My only no, you're wrong opinion is if you think Royal is, if you really think 5 is better than Royal. I'm sorry, I just can't process that. Even if you don't like Kasumi, like some people, the third semester really just goes above and beyond. I think Maruki alone carries that game to a higher standard. Him and Akechi. So, if there is one more thing I'd like to ask you before we end this video,
Yeah.
and that's if when Persona 6 comes out, what is the one thing that you want them to improve the most?
If they can capture, okay, if they have a pretty equal triangle of story gameplay characters, I will mostly be good. And honestly, I think all 3 games have had a decent enough triangle of all those things.
You're right.
Honestly, I think that's the most important thing. I would like there to be a bit more nuance and social links. I feel like there's a way, and I think they've been still finding ways to modernize that. And just the concept of social links, I really like. Should have talked about this earlier, but I can't help but think about social links when I'm interacting with people now in real life.
I do it all the time with coworkers, parents, family members,
Where,
friends.
Like you meet someone, and maybe you're working a shift at your job with them. It's just you're spending time with this person. But it's not until something significant happens, it's just rank up. Where you feel like you actually learned something more about who this person is. And I think the game actually does a really good job of illustrating that, of conveying those interactions within gameplay. I think it needs to be. I think because I think the social links have the most relevance to who the protagonist is.
That is another good point. I didn't put this down, but just as a side note, what is your favorite protagonist? Who is it? I know who mine is. It's not even a question.
That's tough too, because Akira, Ren, whichever, he's overflowing with charisma. I love how sassy he is. I feel like everything that happens to him specifically makes enough sense.
Yeah, it does.
I don't think it's that outlandish considering the hostile environment that they all live in. Even the social links that he's making with people, I think all those make sense. Soji. He is the blankest slate out of all of them. And I tend to be attracted to those characters more. Because it's very easy to project onto them, and I just love how memeable he was in the animation.
It was so funny with it to do him in the animation.
But I think he had the best... I think his social links made the most sense in terms of him having them with classmates, in terms of having them with, like, some people he worked with, and then a few random people around the town. The town was small enough that it felt like, okay, it makes sense that you made a relationship with this woman by the lake. With this elderly woman by the lake. Like, sure. Minato is a weirdo.
100%.
But again, the social links kind of characterize that. It's like, what are you doing here talking with this infomercial guy, talking with this drunken monk, talking with the gourmet king?
With the grandparents in the library.
Which was sweet. I love their social links so much. And then I really do just love the tragedy of Minato/Makoto's arc.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the movies actually did a pretty good job with shading that in too. Where he was like this listless, purposeless person, and then in the second movie he almost feels conflicted where he's like, oh, if we get rid of the Dark Hour, then I lose a reason to be with all these people I'm fighting beside him. This is like the one place I've actually belonged in a long time. But then at the end, him seeing Shinji's portrait at his funeral, like you see how much that's weighing on him. So the fact that he really does come to accept his fate, he comes to accept his mortality. That's really what part of the journey in the game is. It's impossible for me to dislike any of them, but I think in terms of who I like most, maybe Akira.
I can respect that.
Maybe Akira, right? Just because I think I love the way he takes his environment by the balls. And just them driving off in the van at the end of Persona 5, even though the ending is different in Royal, but them driving off in the van and people are like, yeah, do whatever you want. And Akira just like standing out from the sunroof, experiencing freedom. Like that, there's something so cathartic about that. But it's a revolving triangle. I can't pick a favorite.
Yeah, I can understand that. I were to pick a favorite, and this is the weird one. I think Narukami is my favorite, and the reason because of that is, yes, he's the most blank slate. He also represents being the upstanding gentleman of the protagonist. He feels like that he actually actively listens to his confidants or social links a little bit more than Joker does.
Yeah.
So
True.
So that's why I'm giving him the edge over Joker, which I do think Ren or Akira are a close second. They're not far behind. I just don't like Makoto or Minato as a character in terms of his, like... You can choose to make him a nice person in P3.
You can.
But a lot of his default early options are just like, I'm not gonna say this. Like, what the hell is this?
That's true. He's very antisocial.
Yeah.
And then he's forced to be a dog in terms of how he treats all the female social links too.
Yeah.
So that's... Yeah, if you're using the social links to characterize the protagonist, then he's canonically kind of a man whore.
Yeah. Kind of.
Absolutely. There's literally no choice. Yeah, I really do appreciate that about Narukami.
Yeah,
The
right.
fact that you look at him, it's just like, oh, there's a reason why all these people gravitate towards him. There's a reason why they all defer to him. There's a reason why when they're all looking at Namatame in the face and being like, okay, clearly you're the murderer. And the fact that Narukami is the one with the presence of mind to be like, no, I think we're missing something. Yosuke literally would not have listened to anyone else as long as he was listening to you because of who Narukami is.
Yeah, right.
So yeah, that really does. So the fact that his persona is representative of the god of creation, that fits.
Yeah.
Joker's a trickster. Minato is like a bard. Like Orpheus wasn't even a god. I think like he was a tragic Greek hero, but Narukami being a god, that fits with who he is to his friends.
We've been talking about Persona for 2 hours.
Are we even on camera? Jesus, this is a terrible story.
Yeah, that's okay. Don't worry about it. So, yeah, guys, that was our Persona discussion. Here, I'll end my middle like this. Thanks for tuning in and listening to us ramble. We're probably gonna do more of these videos for other topics, maybe even more Persona in the future.
Justice, honestly.
Dude, I'd have to watch the season 3, and then we would have to talk about
Oh
it.
no, you don't.
Oh, Austin,
you don't.
I have to be informed, buddy. I have to. But anyway, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Have a good rest of your night, and see you next time.